Alright, welcome back. It's MirandaPitrone here, and I am going to paint another stone with you this evening. I have had some questions with regard to how many layers I put on if I'm doing a background or painting a whole stone. Some people are having trouble with their paint showing through or having to do multiple layers, but I think maybe I just put it on really thick the first time with a sponge brush, and that's why I don't have to do it more than once. I'm not sure. I'm just using the Decoart Crafter acrylic. It's like a matte finish before I varnish it, and that's when I'm using the black background. I just use that and paint it. So I put a decent amount. I just pour it right on the stone, and then I'm using these kind of brushes. So they're foam, and then I just lightly brush it on so it doesn't have brush marks. It's pretty thick. So I'm not sure, maybe it's the kind of stones, I'm not sure if it's the kind of brushes, and I'm not sure if it's maybe you're just using a different kind of paint, but I'm not sure as to why it would take multiple coats to just do a background. But hopefully this is helpful. See how thick it really is? And right now when it's wet, it does look like it has some lines in it, but it will flatten out when it dries. Alright, so I waited about 5-10 minutes, and you can see there's no lines and it's thoroughly covered. I hope that's helpful for seeing how to cover a stone if it's not one that's very pretty, or if it's not already black. So I'm going to decide what to do for design here now on this one, and we will get started. Okay, so to start our designs, we want to keep our symmetry throughout, so we're going to find the middle of the stone. And for those of you who haven't seen my videos before, I am new to teaching this, and so I generally just eyeball things. So if you have any suggestions, like people ask me to measure the stones, which is helpful when you're learning how to do this type of thing, and find the center. So that was a very helpful tip. So I'm measuring the stones now so that we can all be on the same page. So if there's any other tips though, as I go through the video, or ideas that you come up with, please feel free to comment, and I will do everything I can to incorporate them in the next videos and answer any questions you have if I can in the comments. So this one is 4 across, so that'll put us at 2. And then it is, let's see, 3.5. 3.5, yeah, so that's what, 1 3/4 about? 1 3/4. So like right about here. And that's the center of this stone. So if you can find a stone similar in size, then this design will fit that we're gonna do. And generally too, I don't use patterns. I just kind of start in the center and work my way out depending on the size of the stone. I usually just have a color concept in mind and just kind of throw it on there as we go. So we'll see how it turns out. Every time's a new adventure. So this time I kind of have corals and blues from a painting I did earlier today, pardon me, of this mandala flower. So I'm kind of stuck on those for today, so I'm going to maybe stick with the corals and blues to start off in mine, and we'll see where that goes from there. So the center, I'm going to do white on this one. And I do paint with brushes, so I'm going to get my brushes here. I use mostly liner brushes and soft round acrylic brushes if I want bigger dots. But most of the time I can get away with, on the stones, using these smaller liner brushes for them. And this one, a lot of people are interested in the angled brush. It is a size 10, and this one is from Princeton. It's called an Angle Spot Detailer, and I'll post the links in the description for the video as well. But you can go on Amazon and type that in, and it pops up a bunch of different kinds of angled brushes. Also, Target, there is an ELF makeup brand, ELF makeup brand, I think it's Eyes, Lip, Face, and they have an eyeliner brush that is bent for $3 at Target, so that might be helpful for those of you who want to try something like this but don't want to go spending, I think this brush is going for $7 at Princeton, somewhere around there. So, you know, if you're just starting out and want to try something that's angled, then the brushes at Target may be helpful. So I just get a good amount on my brush here. And we'll do kind of the traditional, pardon me, start to the mandala. So it's kind of a plus sign, 90-degree angles. So you're gonna go top, well, it may be different on the video depending on the camera angle that I get here, but you're just gonna start in a plus formation. So up, down, side, side, or side to side, up, down. And that's on your 90-degree angles. Who knew you'd be using math in art, huh? All those subjects you think, oh, I'm never gonna use that again, start creeping in. So this too will be on your 45-degree angles where you've put in the other white dots to fill it in around our center dot. I'll fix that little guy there. There you go. And if you're new to my videos, I usually pause in between to let each round dry, especially if I want to tuck in the dots really close to each other. So just in the interest of full disclosure, I'm pausing it in between rounds of dots so that they can dry. Okay, so if you're just starting out too, apple barrel I generally don't use because they do get a little tacky, but I've found lately some redemption with them because they have a lot of colors that I really like that I haven't been able to mix on my own and get exactly the right color, the tint of it that I want. So I have been using these a lot more in my work, but ordinarily I go with the Decoart paints, the Americanas, or even the Crafters acrylics here. Just because the consistency is perfect for dots. You don't have to mix a medium in it. You don't have to add anything to it to thin it. You can add a little water to any of these if they're a little too thick because they're all water-based acrylics. But it doesn't need it if you're going with the Decoarts. I haven't had a problem with any of them. So I am going to use apple barrel for this one. It's called China Blue to start, and we're going to put it in the spaces between the whites. And I think I'm going to go kind of from light, like a nice bright light center, kind of the ombre effect, start light and then go to dark. I'm going to do some sort of different design, I think, than the basic mandala. Which is kind of what I do a lot of times anyway, just throw stuff in there to see how it'll look, and whatever I do to one little side, I do to all of them, so it keeps the symmetry on the mandala. So you can do that too. You just come up with a design and then do it all the way around. It keeps the balance. So just adding some more math in there, because it's like an equation, you know, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other so that it'll be equal and balanced. I can hear some people groaning about that, but and I used to be one of them. I used to think, oh, I'm never going to use math again, but it's helpful. And if our brains work different ways, some people learn better when they're able to relate it that way. So I did the China Blue. And I've talked enough that it's probably dry enough around the edges that I can go on to the Spa Blue, which is the next shade that I'm going to use. And it's just a little bit darker, but still that nice kind of rich, light turquoisey tint to it. That's a technical term, turquoisey. I'm just kidding. It's late in the evening, and sometimes, you know, I don't know about you, if you have kids, we always called it the 7 o'clock sillies, but as adults it's even later, but sometimes still silly. So you can see it's just a hair darker tint-wise, and I'm just going a little hair bigger with the dots. So you have that sort of progression. I'm having trouble finding the right paints I want tonight. Okay, well, I'm gonna go with one of my multi-surface ones, I guess, because it's kind of the next shade, and I can't find the other one that I was looking for, which is like an island blue, I think, normally in the Crafters acrylics. But this one is Indian turquoise, and they're almost exactly the same, but this one is one of the enamels. It's a little thicker, a little more difficult to work with, but it's doable. So I'm going to use that for the next row here, and I think, yeah, I'm going to use that. We'll tuck them in here. But you can see how it doesn't spread right away like some of the other paints, because it's thicker, because it's meant to be able to be used on wood and glass and all sorts of other surfaces. So it's just a little bit thicker. They dry really nice, the colors are fantastic. It just takes a little more finesse and practice with working with them. But like I said, I'm pretty sure the Island Blue is the same shade, so you could go with Island Blue of the Decoart regular Crafters acrylics for it. Okay, so I think the next one I'm gonna go with is the Apple Barrel Caribbean. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. And we're gonna change this up a little bit here. Generally the mandalas stay circular and keep their pattern going circular out, but I'm going to change this one up a little bit, I think, here. I'm going to get a good amount because I'm going to go a little bit bigger with this dot. And we're going to do the plus sign again. Back to our 90-degree angles. So not the 45s with this. So it's kicking us into kind of a square diamond shape here. Which is funny how all the rings go from being circular, and then just in one round we can make it a square. It's pretty cool. I love patterns and shapes, and the way math works, it's just unbelievable sometimes how just minor changes can make such a big difference. Okay, so let's see. With that, I'm gonna continue with maybe a little darker turquoise here. Ooh, that one's pretty. It's Apple Barrel again. They're turquoise. Nice and dark and rich. And I'm not actually washing my brushes super thorough in between any of this. I just give them a good swish in the in the wash. Sometimes I add brush cleaner to the water, but tonight I just have water and then I'm just wiping it on a paper towel, so it's not anything special. And we'll get some of that dark turquoise. And I'm gonna just go the same places that we just were with the ones that made our square, so our 90-degree angles. This one's a little bit smaller than the rest, so I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. While it's still wet, you can add it. And this stone is a little bumpy in some places, so you do have to be cognizant of what your stone is like underneath and if they're going to dribble. But for the most part, I try to use fairly flat stones. Okay, so I think I kind of made up this fun design earlier on this year when people were trying to learn the swipes. I was trying to think of something that I could make that just has a ton of the swipes, or dot, drag, comma strokes, different names for them, swoops, swishes. I think I covered them all there. So I was trying to think of it, and I was doing a rainbow stone, and it just popped into my head. So I think I'm going to do that same design for this one, just using the colors that I chose tonight with the corals and the pinks and stuff. So what it is I'm going to add some lines of dots, little tiny ones in between. And this, for those of you who haven't seen my videos, is it's just a dotting tool, the nail dotting tools, but I broke the end off of it on accident, but it's been fortuitous for me because I call it my etcher. And especially with the black background, I can sketch basically whatever I want if I want to draw on the stone. Pardon me. And then it just erases with water afterwards, so I don't have to use chalk lines. I don't have to put pencil on it and then use a rubber eraser and get shreddings, and it doesn't make a mess. It's just a little bit of water. And sometimes even I don't have to do that, because when I varnish the stone, it erases with the varnish as well. So, but basically, I'm just going to do dots from this dot that we just made down to the little center one here, the spa blue that we used. So it's just going to make like a little arc, just so we're going to get some movement in this piece too. Kind of a pinwheel idea, that type. Also the fireworks, that just puts more movement into it. So I am going to bust into the peaches and pinks now for that. So I'm going to start with peaches and cream. And this is just a liner brush. It's a size 18. And these ones are from US Art Supply. My hubby got me a nice little birthday present this year and got me a set of liner brushes from there. So I've been testing them and they work fantastic. I believe they are a synthetic sable. Really easy to clean. They reshape back really well. And they have great sizes. So see how those last two I stuck together by accident because I got a little overzealous when I'm yapping. That's the thing about having a background, because you can just wait for those to dry. Well, you also can do this too. They're still a little damp, so I can kind of scrape the excess paint away. And then just take a little bit of whatever my background color is and brush it over it to erase it. and then I'll just wait for that to dry to go back to it, but you get the idea. So that's gone. I'll have to put 2 more little dots if I can squeeze them in there, if not just 1. But sometimes I get talking and distract myself from what I'm doing. A lot of times I hold my breath, to be honest, when I do the little dots. I'm actually going to switch to the angled one just because I moved my camera and I can't see what I'm doing now around those. This little guy still needs to dry just a little bit, so I'll have to come back to that to put in a couple more of the peach. Alright, I'm going to go with a coastal blue, I think, here to go for the next. I'm going to hop above the peach that we just did. You'll see here. Do a fairly large dot here. Like that. There. Okay. So the next I think that I have in the peaches and pinks, I'm trying to think if it was salmon or the shrimp, which was lighter, I can't remember. And it is the shrimp. Alright. So the Decoart Americana shrimp color is the next one that I'm going to use to do some little dots down and around again. I'm just going to jump up above this one, and I'm just going to kind of lead them back down to the same place that we connected the first dots, like this. And I have to remember I gotta tuck my other peach in there, so I gotta leave a little room. There. Okay. See how much space I have here. Probably 2 more that can fit. So part of the thing as I go to, I kind of have to see what design will fit. How many more dots I could go up and how much space I actually have to do that. And you should make sure all around your stone, because obviously they're not perfectly round, especially not this one. So it's a good practice to kind of decide if it's going to fit your whole pattern that you're planning. So before I forget here, I'm just going to tuck in, yeah, maybe only one will fit. Okay, so the next one I'm going to use is this blue, 2 blue. And I'm going to do the larger dot out here. And I think I'm going to go to the next color for the pink as a pink instead of one of the corals, because I think they're too dark. So we're going to go with Wild Rose Pink. A little bit of water in my ferrule there. I actually kind of like that that dot went a little bigger. I'll do that. I think, looking at this, it might be, I might be able to fit one more of the blue rounds on the ends. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to do it on this side because I'm a little off center, so maybe we'll have to make this the last. Yep, I think that's going to have to be the last one there. Because otherwise I'm going to go too far off the edge. Yep, I'm going to end it there, I think, with that. Okay, so now for some swipes. I'm so excited. I think I'm going to go with a thistle blossom. thistle blossom. And I'm going to go just above where we were for the wild rose dots. And then I'm going to bring it down and around. See this? I don't want to get too much because I'm on the edge, but I'm dripping. You just want to take your time and gently bring it around as far as you need to go, or as far as you want to go. So that's the thistle blossom. And sometimes I have to dip it more than once just to get enough paint so that I can get around, because this one has a nice big divot here too that I want to surpass. And you're just taking your time. That's a long swipe on these. But you don't have to go fast. Swipe implies fast. Swoosh, swipe, swish. But it doesn't have to be done rapid speed. To turn my stone a little more here. So I'm pushing down hard at the fat part and then working my way around towards the center and just kind of gently lift up to get a skinnier tail. Challenge with this lump over here in the stone too, but if you just take your time. And you would just work your way around, push down hard and gently lift. Okay, so I'm just going to work my way backwards, I think, with the colors. So the thistle blossom I didn't get to do dots in, but the next one was the wild rose. So I'll do that swipe next in a wild rose. And I'm just going to start a little further back down on the stone here. I just loaded my brush twice because I needed enough paint to reach, because they're really long swipes on this. I load the brush and I got a good amount on, and then I loaded it again. But this one, because we're on the edge of the stone, I'm going to get it up on top of the stone here first and then reload it a little bit, so that I can have enough to drag. Down to the end. Just want to make sure it doesn't drip on me there. It's hard with the shape of some of the stones, but that's what we work with. It's like a learning experience every time. On canvas it's a little bit easier to do because you have your flat surface which doesn't change, so you know what you're going to end up with the consistency of each color. There's no bumps in the road. But this little rock journey is like real life, right? Bumps in the road happen. You just adapt and overcome. So this is good if you really want to practice your swipes. It's a good design to do. So it's a double load because I want to get all the way down and around. Sometimes I just have to reshape just a little bit too, because maybe I pushed down too hard or something, or wobbled. So, alright, so that was our wild rose. Now which one did I use? Shrimp? Shrimp, I think it was shrimp. So I'm going to start back a little farther, because we're just kind of working our way around the stone to fill it in with the design, so. Then I just bring them down, and I like to kind of connect the tails at the bottom. I don't know why. You don't have to. And this one's going to be the bump again here. This one, because it's one of the multi-surface paints, it's a little thicker, but it doesn't load up on the brush as thick. Here. So shrimp, then peaches and cream. Have fun. It's coming out pretty. This reminds me of orange sherbet. Or maybe Fruit Loops. Does that cereal still exist? Some Fruit Loops. Alright, so that did it for my peaches. So I think I'm actually going to pull the two lighter blues to do a couple more swipes in here. from the camera here. So my camera was giving me a hard time the other day, and I didn't get to finish talking about the end of the stone. So what I did at the end was add the white stripe swipe there. And I don't believe I added anything else after that. And this has yet to be varnished. It's a little off center, but that's okay. I like it. Super colorful. Reminds me of Fruit Loops. So if you liked my video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. And if you're looking for my other videos, I have them all on my YouTube channel, so you can just subscribe to that. There's a bunch of them on there. And I hope that you have a great day. Thanks so much for watching.